Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Adam. So, I have another plane ticket to Japan, this time in March of 2018. And this time, instead of worrying about trying to write down all the things that I did and type them up and post them on Facebook or a blog or something, I'm gonna try and take my camera around and just show all the things that I'm doing. I'm also learning Japanese, and so I'll probably use this as a sort of vlog update kind of thing to talk about what I'm doing and how it's working and just, other general thoughts I have about Japan and Japanese. I'm the type of person that figures out how to get by doing the least amount possible to get, a good enough result. So that's how I got through high school and my first semester of college, just knowing I could put in 80% more work and get 100, or I could just put in 20% of the work and get 90, 95. And so in the past, when I've tried to start something or learn something, like for example, I wanted to get really good at the Rubik's Cube, I wanted to get good at yo-yoing. There have been competitive online video games that I've wanted to get good at. And so I look up guides and I work on it and try to improve my technique, but after a couple days go by, I don't feel like I've gotten any better and I just give up. So I think me learning Japanese was me coming to the realization that learning isn't about the sprint, it's about the marathon. And I knew that in my head, but I feel like the media and Hollywood give such an unrealistic picture of learning and growing, and it's bombarded at you constantly. You watch pretty much any movie and there's the hero and he's not good at this thing he wants to be good at, and then he has his low point and then he has a wake-up call, and then there's a montage of him training, punching, running, whatever, and then 5 minutes later he's the best in the world. And that's not really how it works. I was talking to my friend Andrew this morning about this. He said, learning is not like Netflix. Learning is like waking up at 5 a.m. to go for a run in the cold, and all your friends are warm in their beds and they don't even know you're training. Learning is not romantic, even though it is highly romanticized. And I think the isolation of the runner analogy is also true, because it can be lonely learning something that no one else gives a crap about. And so sort of the conclusion that we came to was that in order to truly learn something from start to finish, you have to enjoy the journey as much as you would enjoy the destination, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be maybe 3 hours of work every single day. And if you skip a week, you ruin weeks or even months worth of work. And sometimes it may not feel like you are making progress. I've been casually studying Japanese since I went to Japan almost 2 years ago, but I haven't been actually studying in earnest until the past month and a half, 2 months. It's very easy for me to feel like I'm not making any progress. You wake up one morning, you start studying something, and then you go to bed. You wake up the next morning, you study the same thing, and you still struggle with it. It doesn't feel like you've made progress. But I think one thing I have learned is that even if it doesn't feel like you're making progress, if you keep hammering at it and you do put in the hours every day, you will make progress. And one thing that sort of helped me to realize this was I gave up so many times in the past, over the past 2 years, studying Japanese. I was learning the writing system, and I taught myself the entire, not the kanji, but the phonetic writing system, the katakana and hiragana of Japanese, while I was in Japan 2 years ago. Just on the subways in Japan, I'd pull up my phone and go through each one until I learned it. And it was very difficult for me because I'd never really seen these symbols before. There was about 200 total, I think. So I'm just cramming all these squiggles into my brain and trying to associate them with sounds, and it was a lot of work. And then after I got done with that, there was just another mountain I had to climb of something else, and then after that, there's another mountain. And I just got really discouraged because I'll never get through all this. So I pretty much stopped studying after that. But a few months later, I decided to come back and study again. And it'd been a couple months since I'd studied the phonetic characters, so I had to go back and relearn them. But when I relearned them, I noticed it was much easier the second time, because they were still kind of floating around in my brain somewhere. Those neural pathways had already been paved. I just needed to sort of clear out the weeds, if that makes sense. And that actually happened a couple times, probably 3 or 4 times before 2 months ago when I started actually studying in earnest. And each time it got easier and easier. And in fact, 2 months ago when I started studying them again, I picked them all up in a day because they were in there and I knew them so well. And that's sort of when it just clicked in my head that even if you can't tell that you're making progress every day, you are. You're making connections in your brain, and those connections will get stronger and stronger every day. You work on them and work on other things that build on those concepts. And also, especially with language learning, there's always those little things that like pop out and you're like, oh, I understand this thing more. For example, I'm learning the kanji, which is sort of like in Chinese where they have one character which means one word. So there's thousands and thousands of different characters which you need to learn to read. It's a little different how it works in Japanese, but essentially if you go through the kanji and sort of learn their component parts and how they fit together and their meanings and what they mean put together, it helps a lot learning vocabulary and how to read and stuff like that. So one example of this is the kanji for needle and the kanji for early or flower. And when put together, they mean mist. If you put that symbol next to the symbol for moon, it's mist, and moon mist means morning. So I'd learned that along with a bunch of other kanji like that. And then a couple days ago, I was reading, it was a newspaper article. So I can read the phonetic alphabet, but obviously since there's thousands of kanji, I can't read most of them. So I get into the habit of, selecting words I can't read and then pasting them into the online dictionary so that way I can see what it means and then piece the sentence together. So I come across a word, I copy it, paste it in the dictionary, and it says it means morning. And I'm like, oh wait, I know the kanji for that. And so then I look at what I pasted in the dictionary and it was that exact symbol for morning. And I was like, wow, I learned something that I didn't know before, and this could have helped me potentially if I had been paying attention. Another example is I have a playlist of Japanese songs that I listen to a lot. And there's only a couple of songs on the list, so that way I can listen to those songs over and over and get used to them. And as I listen to them more and more, I'll be able to pick out different parts that I didn't hear the first time. And so that was the goal anyway. But so I've listened to the playlist dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But lately I've been getting deeper into the grammar of Japanese. And so this week, actually, while I've been listening to these songs again and again, I've started to pick out the little pieces of grammar that's putting the sentences together. So even though I don't know most of the words in the songs and the sentences, I can get a vague idea of like who's talking, like, okay, this person is saying something about this place or a thing, stuff like that. And it's actually really encouraging. It's almost the new year, and I tried to start all my New Year's resolutions a month early in December, so that way I wouldn't feel terrible if I failed them at the end of January. But as a perfectionist, one of the things that I remind myself the most is that it is important to just do something, even if it's not perfect, because my inclination is to not do anything unless it can be perfect. So this is sort of an extension of that, just filming something and putting it out there so that way I can say I made a video. And the first video is always the hardest anyway, so. And this is pretty much a preview of what kind of content will be on here, just me talking to a camera about stuff I'm learning and when I'm in Japan, just, the stuff that I'm doing. So, yeah, I'll see you around.